Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. The mid-season reinforcements update is coming. Today's the day we finally find out all about Tachanka's new buff, the new Bartlett University map, which other operators are getting changes, and more. If you missed the live stream, then no worries, I got you covered. Today was the live stream reveal for what we can expect in patch update 5.2. Otherwise known as the Season 4 Mid-Season Reinforcements Update. Today was just the teaser reveal for the content. The actual patch launches live on all platforms this Thursday, December 15th. We can expect a fully detailed patch notes list going through all the changes one by one, probably the day before on Wednesday the 14th, although it might come out tomorrow too. I'll be covering that more detailed information in a separate video once that's made available. We've got a brand new map, buffs and tweaks to several operators, and more. Let's start with the new changes for Tachanka. He now gets a 3-panel deployable shield on the front of his turret. This is a front panel and 2 side panels at approximately 45-degree angles. The shield sits on top of the turret, similar to Blackbeard's shield, so it only protects the head and the upper body. It's sort of like a metal folding cage structure supporting each of the 3 transparent bullet-resistant glass panes. I say bullet-resistant because you can destroy this shield. It takes up to 500 hit points in damage before it's destroyed. Once it breaks, the turret looks exactly like it used to without the shield system. Only the shield breaks at that point, leaving the turret behind. Though if you damage the turret enough, that can also be destroyed, but that's always been the case with him. This approach is designed to give him the ability to hold an angle safely while being stationary. On the bottom of the shield is some writing in Russian, which translates to Lord, which is of course a nod to the community nicknames for Tachanka. I'm actually surprised to see that they went with giving him this setup. I was kind of thinking that they might give him a rippable turret system, maybe moving very slowly and having very bad accuracy on the hip fire, but having that mobility would kind of negate the peeker's advantage, and you still kind of have that going on with this. While he can now survive up to 500 hit points worth of damage hitting the shield that would normally have hit him in the face, he's still vulnerable to that peeker's advantage, and you can still drop him if you aim down low. Now for the other operator tweaks. First up are a couple of incoming nerfs for Blackbeard. His shields now break at 60 hit points. They previously broke at 150 hit points, so these will now break half as fast. He still has 2 of them. This is of course yet another change to him, as he originally started out with a single shield that could absorb 800 hit points of damage when Season 2 first launched. Now he's been given 2 shields, but at 60 hit points before being shattered. These will only absorb 1 or 2 shots in many cases before breaking. In addition to that, he also is having his ADS time more than doubled when using his shield, going from 0.2 of a second all the way up to half a second. And while that may not sound like much, it is, like I said, more than doubling his ADS time from what it was previously. Some people will welcome that change since they thought Blackbeard was overpowered, but I think a lot of people are going to think that he's been nerfed too far now. The next operator to get a change is Smoke. This one was much needed in my opinion. He will now throw his gas grenades using a frag grenade throwing profile rather than the nitro cell throwing profile. So what does that mean exactly? A nitro cell toss is very short range. It's as if the object being thrown is really heavy. It's also a much slower speed to deploy, so the throw animation itself takes longer to complete. Anyone that's been shot while trying to throw out a nitro cell can vouch for how it leaves you somewhat vulnerable for a couple of seconds if you're not careful. A frag grenade, on the other hand, is a much faster animation to throw and has considerably further range. This means that Smoke will now be able to deploy his gas grenades much more quickly when he uses them as a 2-stage grenade as opposed to a pre-placed trap, and he'll have much greater range while doing so. This should increase his options for pushing back attackers quite a bit. The next operator change comes to Fuse. He's getting 1 additional cluster charge, so he'll now have 3 total cluster charges. Each of the individual pucks released from the cluster charge will also have a slightly larger area of effect too. Previously, each puck detonated in a 2.5 meter radius, but now that's been not quite doubled to 4.2 meters. That sounds a bit overpowered initially, but what they did was they made it so the increased spread from 2.5 meters to 4.2 will be damage only. Anyone caught in the 2.5 meter radius or closer will still take the lethal damage just like it used to. So from 0 to 2.5 meters is an instant kill, and from 2.5 to 4.2 meters is simply explosive damage. The further out you go, the less damage you'll take. So at 3 meters from the point of detonation, you'll take more damage than you would at 4 meters from the source. Fuse hasn't been picked as much lately, and they wanted to bring back some incentives for choosing it more. Check your hostages because there'll be even more Fuse on the front lines now. Bandit also gets a buff with being able to carry an extra battery now for a total of 4. This is meant to counter the addition of Hibana, especially when combined with Thermite, as it was felt that there was a lot of breaching points that could be made in the metal walls, and not as much that could be done about it, especially when paired with Thatcher. Between Mute and Bandit, you'll now have more coverage options. This should also help out more with juggling Bandit batteries and trying to counter Thatcher's EMP grenades. The next buff also comes to a Spetsnaz operator, and that's Glaz. His rifle is now getting a rate of fire increase and a recoil reduction, so you can now more effectively chain together your follow-up shots without as much of that heavy recoil in between them. This only changes the recoil and rate of fire. His player damage and environmental damage remain the same. Outside of operator buffs, we're also getting a buff to 4 Defender SMGs. Pulse and Castle's UMP-45, Kaveta's M12, Smoke's FMG-9, and Frost's 9mm C1 are all getting recoil reduction to make them more stable and accurate. This will give defense a bit of an edge, especially when combined with the recently added shorter 3-minute ranked round times. But attackers are getting a bit of a buff too on their shields. They're now going to be a lot more resistant to explosives, especially Montaigne. When his shield is fully extended and facing forward, he can easily survive a nitrocell and take very little damage. Again, this only helps as long as it detonates in front of the shield and he's actually facing it. It sounds like other operators like Blitz, Fuse, and those recruits that carry shields will also benefit from this too, but maybe not quite as effectively as Montaigne when his shield is fully expanded. It should be noted this also applies to things like frag grenades and impact grenades. Sounds like any kind of explosive will be reduced against shields if they're facing the source of the detonation. I'll be doing some full testing of that once the update comes out. These are just the highlights besides the changes to the operators. As well as rebalancing SMGs and shields, we'll also be getting access to the new map Bartlett University, and other things like fixes to Twitch's drone not having a target reticle during the prep phase, and fixes for rubber banding issues, as well as a complete lighting overhaul to address the bright outside or dark inside effects that make it hard to see what's going on. There will also be tons of new info that's going to be released in the patch notes that wasn't revealed in today's live stream. There was no word on the shield skins we saw teased last month, or the new universal weapon skins for the expanded solid colors, as well as some of the headgears, but hopefully we'll see some of these things coming out along with the other changes, even if they weren't announced here today. Once again, the Season 4 Mid-Season Reinforcements Patch 5.2 update goes live this Thursday, December 15th. No time is given yet, but it's usually done around 10 a.m. or so Eastern Standard Time when looking back at previous patch updates, and they'll probably put out the specific time info pretty soon. Also, as I mentioned, we can probably look forward to the complete list of the patch notes in the next day or two, and I'll be going over all those as soon as they're announced. So to stay up to date on all the latest news and information for Rainbow Six Siege, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.